At the top of the world, a silent conflict is heating up. As the Arctic ice melts away, it's not just revealing new shipping lanes and untold riches. It's uncovering a new battlefield where global superpowers are drawing lines in the snow. And this isn't some far-off prediction. It's happening right now. For centuries, the Arctic was a desolate, frozen frontier, strategically irrelevant, geographically impenetrable. Today, that couldn't be further from the truth. The region is warming at nearly 4 times the rate of the rest of the globe, and this environmental tragedy has become a geopolitical game-changer. What was once a permanent shield of ice is now a shrinking, seasonal barrier. This isn't just altering ecosystems, it's creating a brand new arena for intense competition. As former CIA Director Mike Pompeo put it, the Arctic is at the forefront of opportunity and abundance. It houses 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, 30% of its undiscovered gas, and an abundance of uranium, rare earth minerals, gold, diamonds, and millions of square miles of untapped resources. And it's not just about what's under the ice. The melt is opening up new maritime highways, like the Northern Sea Route and the Northwest Passage, which could slash transit times between Europe and Asia by up to 40%. This one-two punch of incredible wealth and strategic shortcuts has turned the high north from a zone of low tension into what could be the 21st century's most contested space. The old idea of Arctic exceptionalism, that the region could stay peaceful and cooperative, is melting away. In its place, a new and dangerous military buildup is gathering speed, pulling in old rivals and new players. The big question is no longer if the Arctic will become a hotspot, but whether this frozen frontier is melting into a new Cold War. Section 1, The Players, a new great game. The race for the Arctic is a complex chess match with a growing list of players, each with their own goals and fears. To get why this is happening, you have to understand what each of them wants. First up, there's Russia. With more than half the Arctic coastline, Russia doesn't see the region as a distant frontier. It sees it as its own backyard. For over a decade, Moscow has been on a breathtaking military shopping spree in the north. It's reopened and modernized dozens of old Soviet-era bases, airfields, and radar stations. Its northern fleet, based on the Kola Peninsula, is its most powerful naval force, packed with nuclear-powered submarines and warships. But Russia's real ace in the hole is its unmatched fleet of icebreakers. With around 40 operational icebreakers, including about 8 nuclear-powered giants, Moscow has a capability no one else can touch. This fleet isn't just for clearing shipping lanes, it's a tool for projecting military power and ensuring year-round access across its massive Arctic territory. Then you have the United States. For years, Washington's approach to the Arctic was basically benign neglect. That has changed. The Pentagon's 2024 Arctic strategy now calls the region a critical arena for great power competition. The U.S. has reactivated specialized units like the 11th Airborne Division in Alaska and is running more large-scale military exercises like Arctic Edge. These drills are about homeland defense and proving they're ready for a fight in the brutal cold. But the U.S. has a serious problem, the icebreaker gap. It operates only 2 heavy icebreakers, and both are getting old. While new ships called polar security cutters are in the pipeline, they are years away from service, leaving America heavily reliant on its allies to balance Russia's footprint. And that brings us to China. Despite having zero Arctic coastline, Beijing has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is pushing hard with its Polar Silk Road initiative. This means huge investments in Arctic infrastructure and scientific research, often buddying up with Russia. China is also building its own icebreakers. Its research stations and scientific trips are viewed with deep suspicion in the West. U.S. officials constantly warn that these civilian activities could easily be used for military purposes like surveillance. Finally, there's NATO. With Finland and Sweden joining the club, the game has completely changed. Now 7 out of the 8 Arctic nations are NATO members, creating a nearly unified bloc staring Russia down. This effectively turns the Arctic into a direct frontier between Russia and the alliance. NATO has ramped up its focus on the region with massive exercises to practice collective defense in extreme cold. But even with this new focus, NATO still lags way behind Russia in dedicated Arctic gear and bases, a gap that could take a decade to close. Section 2, the stakes, resources, and routes. So, what makes this frozen wasteland so valuable? Think of it as a treasure chest being unlocked by climate change, holding two prizes that could rewire the global economy: shipping shortcuts and a mind-boggling amount of natural resources. First, the routes. As the ice vanishes, two legendary sea passages are opening up: the Northwest Passage over Canada and the Northern Sea Route, NSR, along Siberia. For shipping companies, this is huge. A trip from Shanghai to Hamburg via the Suez Canal is over 11,000 nautical miles. Take the Northern Sea Route and you cut that by about 3,000 nautical miles, shaving 10 to 15 days off the journey. This isn't just theory. While it's not yet a year-round superhighway, transit voyages on the NSR are increasing, with a record 92 transits in 2024. The economic promise is enormous: massive savings on fuel, lower emissions, and faster deliveries. But there's a catch. The navigable season is still short, ice is unpredictable, and there's a serious lack of infrastructure like deep water ports or rescue services. Insurance can be triple the cost of normal routes. This leads to a major point of friction. Russia claims the NSR is part of its national waters and wants to charge tolls. The US and others say it's an international strait, open to all. Beyond the shipping lanes is the second prize: natural resources. The U.S. Geological Survey estimates the Arctic holds some of the world's biggest untapped oil and gas reserves, about 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, and a jaw-dropping 30% of its undiscovered gas. And it's not just fossil fuels. The region is loaded with critical minerals needed for modern tech: rare earths, zinc, nickel, you name it. As the ice melts, it becomes easier to mine these deposits. This resource race is turning the Arctic into a 21st century gold rush, with superpowers as the prospectors. The stakes are massive, not just for national economies, but for the fragile Arctic environment, where an oil spill would be an absolute catastrophe. Section 3, the buildup, drawing lines in the snow. As the Arctic's value goes up, so does the amount of military hardware pouring in. This isn't a peaceful scientific zone anymore. It's an arena for military posturing, where countries are flexing their muscles on the ice. Russia is leading the pack, building what some call a fortress Arctic. Moscow has been methodically reviving a network of Soviet military bases, creating a defensive bubble across its northern flank. This includes airfields for strategic bombers, ports for its northern fleet, and advanced radar and S-400 air defense systems. This creates an anti-access area denial zone, allowing Russia to control huge swaths of Arctic territory. In March 2025, they even announced an Arctic-specific rocket system. This is all about protecting their submarine-based nuclear deterrent and asserting control over the northern sea route. The US and its NATO allies are scrambling to catch up. They can't match Russia's permanent bases, so they're focused on showing up and showing force through military exercises. Drills like Arctic Edge and Joint Viking bring tens of thousands of troops to practice everything from firing rockets to surviving a polar plunge. The goal is to send a clear message: NATO will defend its northern flank. The US is also pouring money into better surveillance, using satellites and patrol aircraft to keep an eye on Russian submarine activity. A new and worrying wrinkle is the growing military bromance between Russia and China in the Arctic. It's moved beyond economics and into security. In recent years, their warships have conducted joint patrols in the Bering Sea, close to Alaska. They've even flown joint strategic bomber patrols in the area, a clear "we're watching you" to Washington. This partnership creates a complex new threat for NATO. Perhaps the most unnerving front in this new Cold War is the gray zone, actions that stop just short of open warfare. The Arctic's vast empty spaces are perfect for this. A huge vulnerability is the web of undersea fiber optic cables and energy pipelines. Ukrainian intelligence has warned that Russia might be using scientific missions to map these vital links for potential sabotage. It's a modern form of hybrid warfare, where an enemy could cripple economies without firing a shot. Section 4, the flashpoints, what's next? With all this military gear, competing claims, and rising tension, the Arctic is full of potential flashpoints. The risk isn't just theoretical anymore. Analysts warn that combat between NATO and Russia in the Arctic is now dangerously feasible. With Russian bombers being intercepted near Alaska and rival navies operating in close quarters, a simple mistake could quickly escalate. Certain spots are particularly tense. The Bering Strait, the narrow 51-mile passage between Russia and the U.S., is a key gateway. The Giuk Gap, the stretch of ocean between Greenland, Iceland, and the UK, is a naval choke point NATO has to control to keep the Russian fleet bottled up. On top of that, old territorial disputes are simmering. Russia's massive claim to the Arctic seabed, reaching almost to the North Pole, is contested by Canada and Denmark. You might remember when Russia dramatically planted a flag on the seafloor at the North Pole back in 2007, a symbolic but powerful statement. As the stakes get higher, these disputes could easily boil over. So where's this all going? Are we stumbling into a new frozen conflict? Conclusion. For decades, the Arctic was a rare symbol of international cooperation, a place where science was more important than geopolitics. That era is over. We're watching a dangerous transformation where the melting of the ice is matched by the melting of diplomacy. The region has become a volatile mix where climate change is directly fueling great power competition. Russia is digging in to secure its northern fortress. China is muscling its way in to become a polar power. And the United States and NATO are waking up to the challenge, rushing to build a credible defense on this new front line. The result is a slow-motion militarization, turning a global commons into a potential battlefield. The icy barriers that once kept conflict away are disappearing. The question is no longer if the Arctic will be a central stage for global power, but whether it will be a theater of cooperation or the front line of a new and much colder war. If you found this look at the world's newest geopolitical hotspot informative, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to know what's happening at the top of the world. And let us know in the comments. Do you think international cooperation can still win out, or is a new Cold War in the North inevitable?